Senator Pratte, tell us about your motion. What are you hoping to achieve by your motion?
Well, I think this controversy around prosecutorial independence is a very important issue. I think if we don't answer the many questions that have been raised, many Canadians will have lost confidence in the independence of the administration of justice. So therefore, I believe it's important not only to establish the facts, exactly what happened. We have a good idea of what happened, but there may be still some gray zones that we need to look at, but it's more important to look at the principles involved and to try to draw lessons from what happened so that it doesn't happen again. And this is an exercise that the House of Commons Justice Committee did not do, and I think that's the proper role for the Senate.
What about people who, well, for example, the Conservatives in the Senate are furious. They're accusing you of co-opting the whole process and also trying to sabotage the process because they're saying your motion basically would prevent calling for witnesses like Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott and others in the PMO, that you would be basically taking the place of that and replacing it with a general study of an academic type study.
No, and as I explained in my speech in the motion, which I guess the Conservatives did not really listen to, because it's clear in my motion that the motion does not prevent calling anyone, Mr. Wilson-Raybould or anyone else, to testify, to give more details on the facts as they happened. My point is that it's not sufficient just to establish the facts. We also have to look at the principles involved, and as I said, draw lessons so that we know what to do in the future. For instance, what is appropriate or inappropriate pressure on an Attorney General? That's not clear. It hasn't been clarified, and I think that there would be a great role for the Senate to look at this principle and try to establish for the future Attorney Generals, for the future PMOs, what is appropriate and what is not.
Is it possible that with the Conservatives angry at you and your motion, with many Liberals, I've heard some Liberals in this place argue that it's not the place of the Senate to examine things that are basically of the House of Commons and the executive, the Prime Minister's office, that it's not even the Senate's job. I've heard other Liberals argue, well, you've got a very busy schedule in the next few months before the government rises, before the House rises. Is it possible that you not have significant support even for your motion?
Well, it's possible. What I tried to show is that there was a way to tackle this controversy in a non-partisan manner. The Conservatives obviously have partisan motives, so does the government, all right? The government is trying to stifle the controversy, so that's...
The government representative tried basically to blow up the Conservatives' motion.
So that's it. So I try to approach it in a non-partisan manner. I'm an independent senator. So I think it's a very important issue. I think there is a Senate role, but the Senate's role obviously is not to do it in a partisan manner, more in a rigorous, thorough manner. That's what my motion proposes. It's possible, according to my motion, to have witnesses, Ms. Wilson-Raybould included, but it's also possible to go beyond this to learn the lessons that we need to learn.
Okay, Senator Pratte, we will watch this with great interest. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Senator Plett, let's talk about your motion. Originally, you Conservatives had a very large motion asking for a full inquiry, including witnesses from the PMO and Jody Wilson-Raybould. Your motion now as it stands.
Well, my motion now asks basically for the committee to call in the past Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould, and have her testify to the pressures that the Prime Minister and his staff, the Prime Minister's office, has put on her, pressuring her to interfere in a court case. And so clearly Senator Smith's motion was very encompassing. There was a wide range that we felt people wouldn't support. So we thought, okay, let's zero in on the person that has been front and center on it. Let's zero in on her, ask her to come to our Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee and tell us what happened.
Senator Pratte says his motion is a consensus motion, and if the Senate is going to get enough votes to go ahead with any sort of look into this matter, it would have to be through a sort of a wide consensus motion like his, and that his would actually include the possibility of asking Jody Wilson-Raybould to testify. What do you make of that?
Well, Martin, you said it yourself. His might include something. It's a motion to strike a new committee. We have a committee. We have the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee, and we do not need to strike a new committee. Senator Pratte wants to make sure he's got the majority on the committee. They already have the majority on the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee. There is absolutely no reason for us to try to reach a consensus with the ISG, with Trudeau-appointed senators. They want us to reach a consensus on them saying who's going to come. They will have the majority on it. We saw exactly how that worked with that type of a committee in the other place with the Justice Committee.
So you think the independent senators, and through them, Senator Pratte, you think they're doing the Liberals' work?
There is no question in my mind. They have been appointed by Justin Trudeau, each and every one of them, and they are carrying the Prime Minister's message forward.
Is there any possibility that anything will come out of the Senate then in terms of a committee? Because I've heard Liberals speaking against any sort of look into it. I've now heard independent senators, the majority, saying here's our suggestion. You're sticking to your suggestion. Is it quite possible that in the next few days we'll see nothing come out of this?
Well, hope springs eternal. And so I have a hope that there will be enough senators that, in fact, do what they have sworn to do, and that gives sober second thought and give what they keep on saying, nonpartisan views on it. So far, I've seen nothing that is nonpartisan about that. I admit that I'm a conservative. They do not admit that they are carrying the load for the Prime Minister.
If your motion has no, if it becomes obvious that it has no chance of success, the Conservative motion, would you put your support behind Senator Pratte's motion at least to get some sort of inquiry?
No, because I believe that they just simply want to completely control and manipulate the process. If they truly want something to come out of it, they will support my motion.
Okay, Senator Plett, we'll watch this with great interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.